Hello again. Welcome back to our question of the day for the first day of February 2026. Let's go ahead and get started. A 55-year-old woman presents to the clinic because of recurrent blistering on her hands for the past several months. The lesions appear after she spends time gardening and they rupture easily, leaving shallow erosions that heal slowly. She reports no pain or itching. She has noticed increased skin fragility and darkening of her skin on her cheeks and temples. Her medical history is significant for estrogen therapy following hysterectomy and a prior diagnosis of iron overload for which she has not yet been treated. Vitals are within normal limits. She drinks wine socially. Physical exam reveals multiple erosions and intact flaccid bullae of the dorsal surfaces of both hands, with skin hyperpigmentation on her face. Which of the following is the most likely diagnosis? A. Bullous pemphigoid, B. Dermatitis herpetiformis, C. Pemphigus vulgaris, D. Polymorphous light eruption, or E. Porphyria cutanea tarda. Okay, I'll give you a chance to pause here, and we will move on. So the answer is Porphyria cutanea tarda. All right, now let's zoom out here. We've got a middle-aged woman, and she's complaining of recurrent flaccid bullae. Okay, recurrent blistering on her hands. Now, particularly, look at where the blisters are happening. They're happening on the dorsum of the hand, which is one of the areas that we know is very sensitive to light. And I wouldn't say it's sensitive to light so much as it's frequently exposed to light. We don't often think to put sunscreen on our hands. We don't cover our hands. Our hands are exposed to the light, especially when you're out gardening. Other areas that would be the same, think of the neck, the nape of the neck, the face, maybe the forearms. And that's precisely where you're going to see these photosensitive blisters. And so we know then that it's photosensitive. It's related to sunlight. Sunlight is causing the problem. And when you hear of a photosensitive blistering, immediately what should jump to mind is Porphyria cutanea tarda, because there aren't that many other things that can do it. Now, you can have drug reactions. Certain drugs can make you photosensitive. Lupus can cause a photosensitive rash, but we don't see anything like that in this patient. We aren't seeing any signs of chronic inflammation or anything like that. We're not seeing weight loss. We're not seeing systemic features. We have no indication of anemia, of chronic disease. So we're not thinking of a systemic lupus disorder. We're thinking of some kind of dermatologic disorder, and that's in fact what this is. Now, another thing that should point you towards Porphyria cutanea tarda is when you have liver or iron or estrogen risk factors. So liver, for instance, that could be hepatitis, like hepatitis C. Iron could be hemochromatosis. Estrogen could be, well, estrogen therapy, which is what she's on. We already see that. We see the iron overload. So all of this points to Porphyria cutanea tarda. Now, another thing that I point out, and I put it in red here, is increased skin fragility. Sometimes that will be described to you. So when you see all of this together, you see increased skin fragility, this tendency to blister. The three things you should be thinking are bullous pemphigoid, pemphigus vulgaris, and Porphyria cutanea tarda. The difference is that bullous pemphigoid will give you tense bullae that don't rupture very easily. Pemphigus vulgaris and Porphyria cutanea tarda give you the flaccid bullae. And that's important that you know the difference between tense and flaccid. All right, so we've established Porphyria cutanea tarda clinically. There is biochemical diagnosis that you can do, and we'll come on to that now. So, Porphyria cutanea tarda is a metabolic disorder particularly of heme synthesis. It is the most common porphyria, and it is the one that you will be expected to recognize on site for boards. The mechanism is fairly simple, even if the biochemistry here looks very ugly on paper. So here is where the enzymatic defect is, uroporphyrinogen decarboxylase. You don't need to know this. Definitely, I wouldn't even say this is necessarily critical for step one, although the enzymes are. This one down here, porphobilinogen deaminase, is seen in acute intermittent porphyria, which is more of a systemic disorder that particularly has a tendency to affect the liver and also to some extent the GI tract. So here we're talking about porphyria cutanea tarda. Uroporphyrinogen 3 will accumulate, and all of these porphyrias, they involve what are called, these chemicals are called porphyrins, and porphyrins are light sensitive. And that's why we see this photosensitive rash in porphyria cutanea tarda, because uroporphyrinogen 3 accumulates in the skin, whereas porphobilinogen accumulates in the liver. And so you see different manifestations because these accumulate in different places. So you're not, for instance, in acute intermittent porphyria, going to see the skin rash. Whereas with porphyria cutanea tarda, you're not going to see some of the more systemic manifestations. All right. Now, another thing to remember is that porphyrins are photoreactive. And that, I think, should make sense to you now that we are talking about this rash with this uroporphyrinogens that accumulate in the skin. It's photosensitive. The sunlight, when it interacts with these porphyrins, it causes not an inflammatory response, but free radical generation, which then increases damage to the skin and also stimulates melanocytes, which is what gives us that increased skin pigmentation that we saw on the patient's face and temples, and you can even see it on the hands. So that's more of like a photo-induced melanosis rather than a post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. And that's important to remember. This is not inflammatory. Okay, so even though you've got something that looks like it should respond to steroids, it's not. It's not going to respond to steroids. So this is not something like eczema or psoriasis or anything like that. It's completely different. So we talked about the clinical presentation, usually starts in middle-aged. Associated conditions, hepatitis C is the big one. That's the one that I would say probably comes up the most, but there are others. Estrogen use and smoking being risk factors. Estrogen use is something that may be given to you in a vignette like we did here. Diagnostic testing, you're not going to see the elevated liver enzymes and iron overload to the same degree you would with acute intermittent porphyria, particularly the liver enzymes, because this has a tendency to accumulate in the skin more so than the viscera. But it could be there. Urine porphyrin levels would be diagnostic, and the management is hydroxychloroquine or phlebotomy. Hydroxychloroquine helps you clear the porphyrins. We're not giving it in a high dose like we would for lupus or RA, but it works in a different way here. It helps clear the porphyrins. And then phlebotomy will help with the iron overload, which is both a cause, well, I wouldn't say a cause, but it's an instigating factor and a result of a problem with heme metabolism. Because remember, if we're not making heme properly, then iron is going to accumulate because iron is normally incorporated into heme. Okay, so another important part of management is to eliminate predisposing factors, so sunscreen, sun avoidance, and so forth. Okay, so we talked about that. This is what it's going to look like here. So this is kind of a tense bullae here, but you'll see that these will erode very quickly. And here you can see the erosions, and these can become secondarily infected. So be careful about that. And here you can see hyperpigmentation and the bullae. And again. All right, let's go back and eliminate our wrong answers. So bullous pemphigoid. Bullous pemphigoid will give you tense bullae. Tense bullae, not flaccid. These blisters are very firm. They don't rupture very easily. And bullous pemphigoid tends to happen in older patients, 60, 70 plus. These are also very pruritic because it's inflammatory. And nothing in this stem suggests intense itching. When you hear about skin blisters that are not pruritic, you should immediately be thinking of porphyria cutanea tarda, because bullous pemphigoid and pemphigus vulgaris will both give you an itchy blister, itchy rash. Same with dermatitis herpetiformis. So this will also cause a bullae to some degree, but this looks exactly like its name implies. It looks like herpes. Now, this one you need to associate with celiac disease. Get rid of this. With celiac disease, this is IgA mediated, and it causes an absolutely miserable itch. These patients scratch themselves raw. Yes, you get vesicles and papules that are classically grouped. They can look similar, but they look more like herpes rather than these big old blisters you see with bullous pemphigoid, pemphigus vulgaris, and porphyria cutanea tarda. Remember the treatment for dermatitis herpetiformis, treat the underlying celiac disease if it's there. The rash is treated with what? Depsone. Okay, pemphigus vulgaris. So that one does cause flaccid bullae, but the key distinction here is that pemphigus vulgaris almost always involves the mucous membranes. Painful erosions in the mouth, widespread skin involvement. These lesions also hurt, unlike porphyria cutanea tarda, which they don't quite hurt as much because they're not inflammatory. But otherwise, it looks fairly similar. You're not going to see the photosensitivity. You're not going to see the iron or estrogen connection. And so I wouldn't call this pemphigus vulgaris here because I would expect to see mucosal involvement in a patient that looks more uncomfortable and sick. So despite the flaccid bullae, the pattern is all wrong for pemphigus. Polymorphous light eruption. So that is a true photosensitivity disorder, and it does have the sunlight connection, but these tend to look like pruritic papules and plaques. They look a lot like lichen planus. And you'll see it in the sun-exposed areas, but once again, they won't have that built-in story of iron overload and estrogen therapy. So this is really just an itchy rash in response to light, not a bullous porphyria. And so the answer is E. And I think I had one more picture for you. Yeah, so here's the last one. So again, you can see here a little bit of hyperpigmentation. Maybe down here and here. And you can see he doesn't have as many bullae, but you can see the erosions here where the bullae once were and then were ruptured. All right, so if you enjoyed this video, definitely feel free to hit the like and subscribe button, and I will see you tomorrow.